And so many questions remain from what happened on the field last night to Damar Hamlin. We've asked Deaconess cardiologist Dr. Chandra Kumbar to join us today. Dr. Kumbar, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Now, based on what you've seen and what's been reported, from a medical angle, what can you tell us that may have happened here?
Actually, what we know is there was a cardiac arrest because he collapsed without any warning, and CPR did bring him back, and he is hemodynamically stable but critical based on the reports that have been published. All it means is, like, he went into an electrical rhythm problem, which was transient, and it was appropriately diagnosed and treated.
Okay, now, could it have been caused at all by the tackle itself? You know, it didn't look like a spectacularly hard tackle. It looks like a pretty normal football tackle. Could that have been part of the cause?
Is it possible? You know, many things are possible, but it's not uncommon for well-trained athletes to have sudden cardiac arrest, regardless of whether there was a direct trauma to the chest or not. And, you know, we see this quite often among competitive athletes, soccer players and basketball players. After the game, they collapse and have a cardiac arrest. But what's critical in this case is the timing when the tackle was done, and then, like, you know, the immediate proximity to that event raises the question. But it's kind of hard, though. Sometimes, you know, not knowing the patient's overall medical history, it's hard to point at one diagnosis right away. But I think it's a good idea to step back and say what else could be, and make sure that we are not missing other medical problems which are very likely to cause sudden cardiac arrest.
And I'm sure doctors are probably, you know, doing testing whenever they can to find that out. But, you know, you just mentioned that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe you just said it's not uncommon for athletes, professional athletes, to have a cardiac arrest. That surprises me, and I'm sure a lot of folks might be surprised too, because these folks are surrounded by, you know, doctors and trainers, and they're very physically fit. Why is that not surprise you?
You know, as a heart rhythm specialist, I deal with these scenarios or situations quite often. There are medical conditions where a completely healthy individual can have a sudden cardiac arrest. This is when you hear people going to bed and not waking up next day morning, or people passing out or having accidents in a vehicle because, like, you know, they just passed out while driving. What we need to know as a society is that it is quite possible that somebody is completely healthy, completely fit, doing, like, pretty much all the routines like what a professional athlete has to go through. They're still vulnerable for sudden cardiac arrest. And sometimes, like, you know, there may be underlying conditions, especially electrical abnormalities. And it's reasonable for us to kind of, like, keep our you know, options open to make sure that we're not missing those things.
Well, let's talk about how important it was last night. The doctors, medics got to him right away. How important is it for anyone to get CPR as soon as they go into cardiac arrest?
I cannot emphasize this any more than what has already been talked about. Time is brain power, and in a scenario where somebody loses consciousness, like the way he did, and when he's in cardiac arrest, the CPR helps to preserve as much brain function as possible. Every minute somebody doesn't get a CPR, then, I mean, just a rule of thumb, about 10% of your brain function might be lost every minute. So it's very critical for us to react and act very fast. And I think, like, you know, that was done yesterday. I think that helps to kind of preserve the overall cognitive function.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Kumbar, thank you so much for joining us today and leaving us with that message right there, that if you haven't learned CPR, maybe go learn it, because you could save a life by acting quickly and getting to someone right away. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your expertise.